Well, first of all, I don't think the score is a very good indicator at all of these two teams. That's a very, very talented team. I thought tonight happened to be our night. We made some shots early, which allowed us to get in our press. We turned them over, and it just kind of avalanche for them. You know, I've been on both sides of it, and I can tell you there's not that much difference between our two teams. This team was picked second in our league behind Memphis in every publication. They're talented, they're long, they have two all-conference players, and I thought tonight we started the game the right way, to our credit, and then it kind of fell apart for them.
Coach, considering the competition, like you said, have you ever seen a 47-4 run like that?
I don't know that I've been part of a 47-4 run, but I didn't even realize that was the case, but that's pretty impressive, and I just think it's a tribute to our guys and the way they've practiced. I'm one of those guys, I emphasize practice every day. I know they get tired of hearing it, but it's the only way your team grows, and it's the only way you're able to keep having success. And we had two really, really good practices before this game, so I felt like we'd play well. I didn't know that we'd win the game, but I knew we'd play well based on the way we practiced. And they've been consistent with that. The only 2 days we didn't practice the right way was before we left to New Mexico State, and I thought our play was directly reflected in that game.
A lot of times when a team gets on an 18-0 run, they kind of relax a little bit or something like that. During the course of, say, the first half, did you ever see the guys let up, or did you see the intensity kind of build with that?
Well, they just know with my crazy tail, if they let up, they're coming out. So, they have no choice but to play hard. And what I do give guys the freedom to do, if they're fatigued or need a blow, they just give me a fist and I take them out. And then as soon as they tell me they're ready, I reward them by putting them back in the game, so they know to play as hard as they possibly can for as long as they can. And then if they need a break, they come out. And the biggest thing is, as our depth has evolved, Richard McGill is not much of a drop-off from Wayne. Cedric is not much of a drop-off from Gerald. Mike Craig's not much of a drop-off from Mills. So what's happened is guys are coming off the bench, and sometimes you gain something. Very seldom are you losing anything.
Coach, you said you've been on both sides of games like this. How do you move past what's maybe a little bit of a high right now in terms of keeping that focus, keeping that intensity in practices?
Well, I just think the biggest thing, that's my job. That's what I get paid to do. And when we watch the film, it'll be certainly you'll be pointing out some positives, but there's certainly things we didn't do well. Those negatives will be harped on. And when we go, everyone's in a great mood, and they all love me right now. As soon as we get between those lines, it's back to the Grinch, as they call me. So that's my job, to keep these guys on edge and not feeling what I call fat. We don't need fat guys in the room that are feeling complacent or overconfident. We got to come right back to work tomorrow and get our team better.
There was a point where y'all out-rebounded, I guess it was to start the game 14-1, and they had 7-footers on the court. How are your guys undersized get to those balls?
Well, I think it's a mentality. We do a drill called 3-on-3 rebounding about every day in practice. It's the hardest drill we do. It's a physical, tough drill, and really, if you don't bring it in that drill, the drill will cave you in and make you quit. And that mentality in practices carries over to games. And guys that are undersized, like Mills and Boardingham, that have been through that drill 4 times a week since September, they're prepared to play against bigger, more athletic front lines.
3 games road swing now. What's the encouraging part of it?
Yeah, and that's going to be the biggest thing I talk to our team about. Yeah, we played well in our 2-game homestand and took care of business, but as we all know, the toughest thing to do in college basketball is go on the road and win. And we're going to play in 3 tough environments against 3 very good teams. We're going to need to be even better. And so if they don't practice the right way, we all understand what the result will be. So I hope that catches their attention.
Numbers, you start looking at some of the stuff you guys were doing in the first half, but the one that kind of caught my eye was the 15 turnovers they had and only 17 shots.
Yeah.
Just unbelievable. Again, it's kind of like you guys didn't wait till the 7-minute mark this time. Really.
Right. Yeah.
Same kind of effort you guys had.
Well, I think our guys started the game the right way, and you're exactly right. We didn't give them many shots on the rim because we were forcing turnovers. The shots they did get on the rim, we only gave up 2 offensive rebounds at the half, so we did our part blocking out. Now the second half, we didn't do as good a job with that. But I thought the first half we were about as good in our press and defensively as you can be. 17 shots, 15 turnovers, and then only 2 offensive rebounds. You can't ask for much more than that.
Norval carry seemed like he hauled it off pretty good.
Yeah, I just talked to Yuji. He's got a little hip pointer, and so he thinks he'll be sore for the next couple weeks, but should be ready to go.
I can see you're coming off the bench. How comfortable are you with that rotation, moving forward?
Well, very comfortable. Richard started all of last year. He started probably at least a third of our games this season. Mike's been a part-time starter, so I'm very comfortable with those guys being on the floor. Norville started 3 or 4 games. All those guys have contributed. I think we have 9, maybe 10 guys that have scored double figures or more or double figures at some point in time this season. So you've got 9 guys that can go get you 10 points on any given night. I'm comfortable with all those guys, and they push each other in practice. But what I think is really cool is how our team has come together, and you see how they pull for each other. Because in practice now, you may come in and think these guys don't like each other, the way they compete and get after each other, which is what you want as a coach. But then on game night, they're pulling for each other. They're up cheering. And, tonight with Christian getting the free throw and Jamie Chapman making the 3 to put us over 100, no one was more excited than their teammates, which was pretty cool.
Is there a special chemistry? I mean, is this something maybe you saw in your NC2A team a few years back?
Yeah, it's getting there. I tell our guys in our first meeting, which was August 23rd this year, there's only going to be one you-know-what in this room or on this team. Only one, and that's me. So you other guys, we're not going to tolerate it, and we're not going to have it. And we've had our bumps in the road with guys getting attitudes and different things like every team does. It's a long season, but our guys have come together. They pull for each other. The little blips on the radar, if you will, they're not as frequent as maybe they were earlier in the season, and that's maturity and growth.
How much do you get to be the lightning rod? They're pulling together for themselves because they're pulling against.
Yeah, and I don't think that's a bad thing, because at the end of the day, I'm always repeating to them at some point in time in your life, it may be in 2 years, might be in 5, might be in 10, you will appreciate what we're doing for you in regard to having discipline and holding you accountable and not letting you be a guy that goes through the motions, etc. You're not going to be 2 minutes late for class. Well, you're not going to be 2 minutes late for film. It's just, and all those things, when you hold them accountable, help them in the real world. And so I keep telling them those things. They may not always want to hear it, but eventually it sinks in.